Good evening from the beautiful studio of Brummett Jewelry Design Studio in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is Shop Live with Russ and Mimi. As you can see, Mimi's not here. Mimi's enjoying herself at the coast tonight, so you're stuck with me only. I hope it'll work out pretty well for you. I'm going to have a good time, I hope, because I'm going to try to teach a little bit and have some fun talking about estate jewelry and a little bit about diamonds. Tonight's not going to be a really big night to try to sell. We just want to kind of have some fun and talk about jewelry, talk about the evolution of jewelry and how things kind of got going. I want to start off by talking a little bit about the Victorian era. The Victorian era really started under Queen Victoria, and she really popularized jewelry. She really got into loving jewelry. She made pearls famous, and she started having jewelers create designs. Jewelry really kind of blossomed during that period in the early to mid 1800s, basically, mid 1800s. Then the two periods following that are really my two favorite periods, which are the Edwardian period and the Art Deco period, and they kind of transcend each other. It's funny, the jewelry again blossomed under the reign of Queen Victoria, and then the Edwardian period, named after Edward VII, kind of was the last time that the English monarchy kind of had a lot of influence on the jewelry industry. We're going to show you a few pieces tonight and kind of teach you a little bit about those pieces and those periods and about what the philosophies and the thought and the processes were. But also to start tonight, we want to let you know that we are a studio. We are not a retail jewelry store. Mimi and I did have a retail store for about 30 years. It's called Aura Designers and Fine Jewelers. And we decided about 6 years ago that we wanted to do something a little more personal, a little more private. So we opened up this studio. We work by appointment only. So in other words, when you book a time, it's your time. It's our time. We're going to sit and work together, and we're going to help you create jewelry. We'll help you repurpose jewelry that you have. We'll help you with repairs, appraisals, whatever your needs are, we are here for you. And that time is yours. And it's also personal. It's also private. So if we can help you in any way, please go to our website, and you can always book a time, and we'll be happy to work with you in any way we can. Or if you have any questions, give us a call. Again, we work by appointment only. We can also Zoom if you're out of town, out of state, or out of the country, and you want to work with us. We do a whole lot through Zoom. Excuse me. It's very easy to talk and show and figure things out without necessarily sitting right in front of us. So again, keep those things in mind and let us know if we can help you in any way. So now, let's kind of get right into what we want to talk about tonight. The main two things we're going to talk about are Edwardian jewelry and Art Deco jewelry. Some of the interesting things about the Edwardian period was it was really more of a more feminine time for jewelry. It's a little more delicate, a little softer. It's defined a lot by a lot of filigree, a lot of open areas, a lot of cut work. Keep in mind, back in those days, they don't have the technology we have today. They don't have the modern tools, the power tools, the lasers, the microscopes, and all the things we have today to help us design and make jewelry, which makes it simpler, easier, and faster. A lot of the pieces they did, everything was drawn on a template of the metal itself, and they would hand cut it with tiny saw blades, or they'd etch it out. So you'd have very intricate pieces done. Everything was all handmade. It was not cast. It wasn't built by modern tools. It was just all hand-wrought pieces. And it's really interesting to see what happened in some of the philosophies. The first thing I really want to show you tonight is one of the most special pieces I have. This predates the Edwardian. This is more of a Victorian piece. This is a state piece that we keep the box in another box. It's that precious. And what's really beautiful about it, this particular box was actually handmade as well for the piece of jewelry. It's typically, if you look at some of the old antique books, the covers, you can see the same pattern in a lot of books. So someone literally who makes books made this piece for this piece of jewelry. This is a beautiful pin. It's somewhere around 1840 or 1850. It has a carat 10 rose cut diamond. I'll actually let Gabrielle put this in the light box because you really need to see it on a flat basis. This stone in the center is a rose cut, which means it's flat on the bottom, it's domed on the top, and it's a pear-shaped cut. It's about a carat 10. Surrounding it are the old mine cut diamonds. What are old mine cut diamonds? They were stones that were cut. They were trying to balance them as best they could. They had some modern tools in the sense that they could actually spin these wheels, and they could take diamond powder and they could actually facet diamonds for the first time in a simpler manner. They were really all done by hand and by eye, so they weren't perfectly balanced. They were thicker, heavier. They weren't always round. They're a little misshapen, and they were all varied in the cuts. But they're beautiful stones. They have large facets typically. And if you think about it, during that time period, they only had candlelight. They didn't have modern lights. Let me cut this microphone on because I don't think it's on.
Just hold the button down. It's on.
Sorry for the delay. Anyway, back in those days, they had the candlelight. So when you were somewhere and these diamonds were being worn, you had these big flashes of light, typically from the surface, not internally. As time went on, they learned that through geometry and everything else and how light went through these diamonds, they could actually have Benz light, that they could maximize the brilliance of stones. They could make them reflect internally. We'll talk about that later. Excuse me, I've got a little dry throat here tonight. But this is one of the most beautiful pieces. And during this time, the only metal that they had was sterling silver. All jewelry was made in gold. Typically, gold was the status symbol. That's what all jewelry was made for. Gold was the rare thing, that's sought after, the fashionable. And today it's the same way. Gold's highly prized. It's the state of economy for a lot of countries, especially India and China. So back in those days, when they started experimenting with diamonds and white metal, they realized that diamonds looked nice in the bright white metal. All they had was sterling. As you can see, that piece was sterling silver. But if you flip these pieces over, typically on the back, I'll show you this one right here. It's a little easier to see. They would actually back the pieces in yellow gold. If it did not have yellow gold on it, it had no value whatsoever because gold was the prized metal. Even the diamonds themselves were not as prized as the gold. Now, as we got to the Edwardian period, this next piece I'm going to show you, you can see the laciness. They got a little softer. The pieces got a little lighter than they did during this Victorian era. And this particular piece is a great example. They still carried on to the yellow gold design, the yellow gold backing. This particular piece, they finally discovered platinum in the late 1800s. So they started using platinum. They still backed it here. That slowly faded out within a small amount of time. But you can see how this is very lacy, very loose, very feminine, which is very reflective of what the Edwardian period was. They typically liked white, bright things. So ideally, you would see most of the time diamonds or pearls in a lot of the Edwardian jewelry, as you can see here. Beautiful piece of jewelry. This is my wife's personal piece. We had a customer years ago who brought this in and wanted to sell it, and we fell in love with it and bought it for our own personal collection. But perfect example of a beautiful Edwardian necklace. Now, going along with that laciness and that softness, here's another ring I'm going to show you. Actually, Gabrielle, I believe you have a picture of this in our archives.
I do.
The 3-stone ring.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good example showing you, again, that softness, the laciness, the open work that started really in that Edwardian period, then carried over into the Art Deco period. Some of the pieces, like I said, they kind of transcend each other. They're kind of very similar, kind of difficult to distinguish which is which, depending on the designer, depending on who was working on it. This is a beautiful little 3-stone ring. It's got right at about a carat total weight of diamonds. The 3 main stones are about 3/4 carat, 80 points. It's also done in platinum, as all those pieces were in that time period. This is a magnificent piece, and we've got this at a great value. This ring is only $2,500. Handmade, it's one of a kind. You won't see it anywhere else. Okay?
I'm going to put the pictures up here.
So put the pictures up.
It's pretty on camera.
You can see it a little bit better. But again, a beautiful piece of jewelry, very fashionable today, never going to go out of style. Very, very beautiful ring. Going to that again, now let's kick it up a little bit. Here's another ring. I don't have a picture. I'll have to let you put it in the box. This is one I actually got recently, and I'm restoring it. I got several I'll show you. We're actually doing some restoration work on. This actually has a missing stone, And fortunately, I have some old stones to be able to replace it. It's, again, a beautiful example of an Edwardian piece. This one I love because it has some height to it. It has kind of an architectural feel to it, appearance. Again, that open fretwork, all hand done. Interesting piece, great conversation piece. Has some hand engraving on the shank and down the side. This particular piece has about 1 carat a third of diamonds. And again, Edwardian, and it's about $3,500. Wasn't talking about selling a whole lot, but I'm gonna give you prices on these anyway. But this ring right now, like I said, we are doing a little bit of restoration on it. Going to clean it up a little bit, put the one stone in there that's missing, and this piece will be offered at $3,500. If you're interested, we're not doing our text to pay tonight as we normally do. But if you're interested in any piece you see, you can contact us through our website, or you can call us at 919-900-8462. Okay? Now, it's time for a little segment we always do, and at least we started doing. We call it Carrots and Cocktails. We decided we wanted to have a little fun. Everybody enjoys this time of evening to kind of relax sometimes and have a cocktail. So our daughter Gabrielle is doing a segment each show we do, a different style of drink, a cocktail that you yourself can do. She tells you how to do it, and take a look. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Carrots and Cocktails. I am your host, Gabrielle. To keep with our theme tonight with the estate jewelry, we're going to do an old school classic, a Vesper, which, if you know anything about James Bond, Ian Fleming is the author. He came up with this cocktail. It first made its appearance in the 1956 story Casino Royale. So James Bond, he liked one cocktail before dinner, and it had to be a strong one. So this is a strong drink. So it is called a Vesper, which is named after his fictional love interest who ended up being a double agent, Vesper. All right, so we are going to start. There's 3 ingredients. We're going to start with gin, the best ever, Hendrick's. You need 3 ounces of that. And this is actually considered a double plus for a cocktail, so this is a very, very, very strong one. All right, that's 3 ounces. Oh, and while I'm measuring that up, chill your glass. So just throw some ice using a coupe glass in there, get that chilly. All right, let's put our vodka, 1 ounce. All right. And finally, Lillet Blanc, which is a vermouth. There used to be one, I think it was called Kila vermouth back in the day, but it is no longer made. So Lillet Blanc, a 1/2 ounce. All right. And the key to this drink, it is controversial to not stir a spirit-only cocktail. This we recommend shaking. You really need that ice dilution to soften it up, get the drink down, because otherwise you will think you're going to be breathing fire and drinking jet fuel. It is very strong. So add your ice to your shaker. And you want to shake this until it is too cold to hold in your hand. So 20, 30 seconds, give or take. And get off real good. All right. That is chilled. Dump your glass. So that is fresh. All right. Take it off and pour. You have just a little bit of a cloud in there, but that will turn clear in just a second. All right. Get every last drop. Okay, in James Bond, he liked a lemon garnish. So I've taken a Y peeler, just peeled the outside of a lemon and kind of trimmed it up to make it more uniform. Give her a twist, get those oils open, let her dance around the glass, and taste. She's good, she's strong, and we love her for it. Cheers, hope you make it.
So there you go. There's our drink for tonight, and there's our James Bond sequence. Matter of fact, I'm glad that was kind of interesting. So that's why James Bond always said, "I want it shaken, not stirred." As Gabrielle just explained, it dilutes that real powerful drink. That's interesting. I love that movie when he asked for that drink in what was it?
Casino Royale.
Casino Royale with Daniel Craig, and the guy next to him goes, "I'll take one of those too." That was pretty cool. So that's why it's shaken, not stirred.
And they're
So,
delish.
wealth of knowledge here at Brumman Jewelry Design Studio. So now, let's go back to talking about jewelry a little bit. I showed you from the start, the first piece was a beautiful Victorian necklace in a little box. It was built for it. Here's another beautiful piece. Here's the original box from I'd say around the Civil War to about 1890. This is a beautiful 18 karat yellow gold mounting that you always hear the word, it's a Tiffany mounting. This is very similar to what the Tiffany was making. This may be actually one of their rings, but it's so old that the internal stamps are not there. But the ring is in perfect condition. It's beautiful. The prongs are strong. The shank's there. It's really a beautiful piece. It's about a 63 point center old mine cut. Again, the old mine cuts are the stones they literally cut by hand, by eye, as best they could to get them as round and as clean as they could. This one's done very, very well. It's beautifully cut for that time period. It's got a slight body color. It's an SI2, meaning under the scope. It's got some, inclusions. Back in those days, they weren't as concerned really with the cut of the stone or the color as much as they are today. As time went on in marketing and technology, they really got into, you had to have a certain kind of cut, you had to have a certain kind of clarity, and there's so much of that we could talk about that we're not going to do tonight, but we're going to hit a few of those subjects a little bit later. But this is a beautiful example. This piece, the boxes, the company was English, and they were on Bond Street, which is a famous street. And
Speaking of Bond.
Speaking of Bond, so these things kind of tie in together.
Love the old box.
Yeah, it's a great box. Again, that's beautiful engraved piece. Now, let's have a look at something else here too. I was talking earlier about how they mix the white gold or the white metals with the rose gold, although I can't talk. The yellow gold, because yellow gold was the prize metal. It was the most popular metal. I have something really unique and very, very rare here. I'll let Gabrielle put this in the box as well. This is a ring probably, I'm guessing, somewhere in the early to slightly mid 1800s. Again, it has a silver top and has a center ruby that's pretty nicely cut, and maybe not the original ruby. I don't know. I can't guarantee. I don't think it is. But the diamonds that are set in there, they're called Marshalls. They're actually literally right out of the ground. They're like diamonds that they find, the crystals, and they slightly fasten the top just to give it a smooth surface, and that's all they do. So whoever sets these has to cut each little notch. It really precisely cuts, those diamonds will sit in that metal and hold. And you can see it's got a little tarnish to it because silver tends to tarnish. If you ever buy an antique piece, never clean it. Let it look like this. Let it look old. Let it look like what it is. It's part of the character. It's part of the history. It's part of the beauty of it. Now, here's another ring done very similar that's probably made 60 years later. This goes in that same framework of light and airy with the yellow shank and a white top. However, now we've got in towards the Edwardian period or later because this has platinum. Platinum was discovered around the turn of the 1900s, right a little bit before. So you can kind of see the differences in the look and appearance from the silver to the platinum. These stones are cut a little bit more modern as well.
Very feminine.
Very a nice ring. So estate jewelry is just beautiful. They have character. You rarely ever see two pieces the same. Because again, most of the pieces were handmade. They were built by an artist or jeweler, and they all had their own styles and tastes. There were certain things that kind of you see repetitively, certain designs, certain styles, but each one have a little more uniqueness to them. Now, let's talk about really probably my favorite period, the Art Deco period.
It's probably everyone's favorite period
Yeah.
here. It's hard to beat.
Many years ago, we had a retail store. We used to have a estate show twice a year with a company called J&SS DeYoung, and we had a dear friend, Bill Conan, who came down, and he would bring beautiful jewelry for our clients to see. We'd do a by appointment, and we learned a whole lot about the state jewelry that fascinated us, and that's kind of how we got into it. And we really still do a lot of it. And I love the Art Deco period. There are so many things we could talk about over the Art Deco period. We'll probably do a show down the road of just Art Deco and get into it more. But I want to show you just a couple of beautiful pieces tonight, just to kind of give you an example. Here are two rings.
Show this one first.
The first ring here, we actually have some large pictures that we did professionally. This, again, is part of my wife's collection. This is a perfect example of a beautiful Art Deco piece. Each piece had to be balanced. In other words, it had to mirror itself. If the right side had a style, the left side had it. Top had it, the bottom had it. As you can see it here, it always mirrors itself. If you cut it in half, it'd be like it's in a mirror. The bracelets were that same way. And we love the Art Deco bracelets. They're getting very scarce now. 25, 30 years ago, we would see, Bill would come in with 4, 5, or 6 of them. As time went on, he might have one, he might have two. And now it's very difficult to find them. And
I'm talking century-old pieces now.
yeah, they're 120 years old, a lot of these pieces now. And unfortunately, some people took them apart and remounted some of the stones. It's just, it almost seems like a crime to take any kind of beautiful jewelry apart. But this is a beautiful example. This has the calibre sapphires. Calibre sapphires were stones that they kind of also were, they call them French cuts. They were kind of faceted on the top, and they were very thick stones. They tended to graduate. They tended to follow a particular shape or curve. They had to be specially cut to fit each ring. So a lot of times, whoever the jeweler was would actually make the ring, and he'd have to have someone either sitting with him carving these, or they would send them off to someone who could cut these and build them to fit the channels, and then they would resell them at a later date. The next ring is also a piece that we recently got that we're restoring. It's got some damage on the sapphires, and again, it has this calibre like the ring that Mimi had, but this has an unusual situation in the center. It has a beautiful old European cut, again, a little bit more modern. It goes after the the old mine cuts. This is when they first started fastening diamonds on a fastening machine that they could balance them. So this stone here is beautifully cut, and it has, instead of prongs in the corner, the prongs actually have diamonds embedded in the prong, which I've never seen done except in this ring. I think it's just beautifully done. Again, it's platinum. You've got the filigree and the engraving on the sides. A classic design, beautifully made, again, one of a kind. This particular ring, we're all finished restoring it, putting it back into perfect condition. It's going to be probably somewhere in a $5,500 to $6,000 range. So if you're interested in this, let us know. And while we're restoring it, if we need to size it for your finger, we'll be happy to do it.
A collector's piece.
A collector's piece. Again, these are collector pieces. Again, as rare as they're getting difficult to find. And as time goes on, it's going to get more scarce. Just like art, just like anything else, rare things, if people see them and want them, if there are not many available, the price goes up. So I don't tell people to invest in jewelry a lot, but these kind of pieces are good investments in the sense that you can wear them and enjoy them, and they're never going to go down in value. And somebody else could enjoy them in the future because they're built so well, they're going to hold up also. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and just put this one piece in the light box. And just to show you, I want you to put the platinum ring back against this. This is a reproduction piece. After World War II, white gold was discovered. They figured out how to make white gold. So again, let's go back. In the Victorian period, all we had was silver. Edwardian and Art Deco, we had platinum. After that period, World War II, things were a little bit tighter and platinum was expensive. So what you were seeing were the discovery of white gold. When you look at this piece here, the pin has the diamonds and it has the emeralds. It's white gold. You can see the color difference in the metal. It's not quite as vibrant. It's not quite as white. And these particular pieces weren't handmade like they were during the Art Deco period. They could cast these pieces, believe it or not. Some of them were hand cut, but a lot of these pieces, they were starting to cast them because it's much easier to cast gold than platinum. It's very difficult. Matter of fact, during This particular period, they could not cast platinum at all. It was all handmade. They literally would have to hand chase it, as we discussed earlier. They had to hammer it out. They had to drill it out. They could not cast it. The equipment we have today, it takes special equipment to cast platinum, and very few jewelers can even do it. It's just difficult. So there's kind of an idea of seeing how modern and antique kind of blended together.
Incredible artistry.
Now, going to that, hold this up. Over the last, I'd say 15 or maybe even 20 years, you've seen a lot of jewelry with the halos around them, which kind of mimics a little bit of some of the Art Deco feel and maybe even some of the Edwardian feel. But the styles are different, and a lot of these pieces kind of mimic. You'll see some of the mill grain a lot of times. You'll see some of the hand engraving. And this is a good example. It's not Edwardian, it's not Art Deco, but it kind of has a little bit of that feel in the shape of it, the balance of it. It's a really pretty piece. This is this is an estate piece in the sense that it's been pre-owned. Sometimes we'll have people trade in things, or they want to go larger, especially if they want to go larger a lot of times. So they'll trade in some of their smaller pieces, and this is something we got, and we're very excited about this ring. It's a beautiful piece. It's in 14 karat white gold. It has a carat 20 center stone in it. It has half moons on the side, and then the diamonds around the melee rounds are set with shared prongs. Beautiful piece. The center stone actually is also a lab-grown diamond. We decided to put a lab-grown in it just to have some fun and keep it a good price point. This entire ring, it's got about a carat of diamonds around the carat 20. So you've got about 2¼ carats almost of diamonds. This entire ring is only, believe it or not, $3,900, the entire ring. If you want a great buy on an engagement ring, an anniversary ring, or just a fashion ring,
Pretty right.
This ring right here is a perfect choice for anybody. And we can size that to fit. We also will include that in the price as well. So if you have any questions, remember, we're not doing the shop the text to pay tonight. If you're interested in anything that you see or have any questions, please call us at 919-900-8462 or get us online or email us or whatever you would like to do. So we would appreciate that very, very much. Also, one quick little note we're going to talk about, and then we're going to have a short show tonight. Again, Mimi's not here. We're not trying to do a long show with sales. We just kind of want to give you a little education, have a little fun tonight. I do want to show one last estate piece, antique piece that I actually really, really love. This is an antique diamond. It is an old European cut. It actually is 2.06 carats. And it is, we set this in a mounting that, I wanted something kind of had an old feel to it, but it's a brand new modern mounting. It kind of has a crown look, it has a reminiscent of a crown like the yellow gold ring we showed a little while ago. It has that same feel to it. I love this little, this pendant. It's just a classic look. We put it on a yellow gold chain. I like the yellow gold to contrast it. This particular stone does have a slight bit of body color to it, but again, as I said earlier, they weren't so concerned with color, and color is not bad on diamonds. It gives it warmth, it gives it personality, it gives it something unique. And it's funny, back in those days, they didn't have the color grading system that we have today. They used terms such as river, top Wesselton, top crystal, and top cape, and from cape to yellow. So basically what it was, river meant it was very white. When you got down to cape to yellow, it meant it had really a definite body color, a definite tone to it. This particular stone, I would consider it to be a top cape, meaning in today's modern standard, it's kind of like a KL color. It definitely has a distinct warm body color to it. But an absolutely beautiful stone. Is cut perfectly for that time period. Very well balanced.
It's beautiful.
It's an eye clean stone. Excuse me. And again, we set it on this snake chain. Excuse me, I can't talk again. I'll let you look at it for a second.
You can't even really tell it's got that body color. If you compared it next to something, you'd probably see it a little bit, but it's very bright. It's very flashy.
Incredible diamond. And again, we set this on a 14 white gold mounting. It's a yellow gold snake chain. It's about 1.5 millimeter snake. Try it again. I can't. For some reason I'm losing my voice. I really apologize. This is a 1.5 millimeter 14 karat yellow gold snake chain. It's about 18 inches. We set the diamond in the pendant. Special price tonight on this stone, it's only $11,900. It's over 2 carats. It is an antique stone, and it is beautiful. If you have a special occasion coming up, want to surprise someone, or you want to treat yourself, this will be a beautiful diamond pendant to wear. It makes a statement, no doubt about that.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's a little bit about antique jewelry. That's a little bit about Victorian. It's a little bit about Edwardian and Art Deco. We hope that you learned something, and we hope that you appreciate what we do, and thanks for joining us here. We love doing this. We love talking about jewelry. We love showing jewelry. And again, we're here to help you with your needs as well. If you have old jewelry that you're not wearing, if you have estate jewelry that's beautiful that you maybe inherited, or it's not something that you care about, or it's not your style, and you're not sure what to do with it, please contact us and see if we can help you figure out what you need to do with it, whether it's to sell it or whether it's to hand it down to someone who would enjoy it. We'll be happy to help you figure that out. If
The antique diamond pendant price was how much again? I apologize.
The antique diamond pendant is $11,900, which is a super good value. Also, if you have other jewelry that you need to have repurposed, or you're not sure what to do with it, if you have scrap gold you need to get rid of and want to take your other jewelry that you don't like anymore and repurpose it, all those things have value. We can help you figure that out and repurpose it. So please get in touch with us through our website or give us a call. We would love to help you figure those things out. And again, each Tuesday night we try to come to you live from our studio in beautiful North Raleigh. And this is called Shop Live with Mimi and Russ. If you would please like this and share it with your friends, it helps us, and it'll help us expand what we do, which will allow us to show more and do more things and to make a lot more people happy, we hope. We also ask you to think about it. Get some of your friends together on Tuesday nights, get a bottle of wine or two or whatever your favorite beverages are, and have some friends and have a watch party. Sit back and enjoy what we do and see, and who knows, you may find something you love and can't live without. We sure hope so. Anyway, thank you so very, very much for joining me tonight. I'm sorry Mimi wasn't here, and hopefully she'll be back with us next week. And we'll have another great show of Shop Live with Mimi and Russ. Thanks again for joining us. And may God bless you this week, and have a wonderful weekend, and happy Father's Day to everyone out there.
Happy Father's Day.
Good night.